Hello home bosses, I want to start today's video by sharing a question I received in the comments recently. Someone asked, can you be more specific on what sells and what doesn't, like a list we should lean towards and what we should stay away from, an expert's point of view. And first of all, thank you for asking that because it's a really good question and it's something that people ask me quite a lot. So today I want to answer it properly, not by giving you the list of books to make, but with the honest answer. And I get why people would like a list, because it just seems easier. If you're publishing books on Amazon, especially if you're still quite new, wanting a clear list of what sells makes total sense. You want reassurance, you want to avoid wasting time, and you want to feel confident that you're working on the right thing. So when people ask what sells on Amazon KDP, what they're really asking is, how do I know I'm not making a mistake? And I completely understand that. Here's the part that most people don't like hearing. There isn't a universal list of book ideas that will sell for everyone. And the reason for that is simple. The niche doesn't sell the book sells the book. I've had books that didn't perform well for me that sell very well for other people. And I've had books that do well for me that don't work at all for someone else. If success came from copying a list of best-selling niches, we'd all be making the same books and getting the same results. But that's not how this works. A lot of people are told to look at what's already selling and copy it. And while research is important, copying is where many people get stuck. Because when lots of people rush into the same niche without a clear angle, without quality, and without understanding who the book is actually for, the market becomes crowded with very similar books. And when that happens, the books that stand out are not the ones in the right niche. They're the ones that are better positioned. Let me give you a very real example of what I mean. Gratitude journals. This is one of the most crowded niches on Amazon. There are thousands of them. Most of what you'll see looks very similar. Same prompts, same layouts, same size, same general messaging. Now, this is where people often say that niche is too saturated. Gratitude journals don't sell anymore. But that's not actually true. What's true is that generic gratitude journals struggle. The ones that do well are the ones that are clearly positioned for a very specific person. For example, you'll see gratitude journals specifically for women, for anxiety, for healing, for busy mornings, for people who don't like journaling, or for people who want something short and structured. These books aren't doing well because gratitude is a new idea. They're doing well because the book speaks clearly to one type of buyer. The cover, the description, the tone, the inside layout, everything is aligned. That's positioning. And that's why two people can publish in the same niche and get completely different results. And before I go any further, I want to pause for a moment and explain what I actually mean when I say positioning, because it's one of those words that gets used a lot but is rarely explained. Positioning simply means this: who is this book for and why should that person choose it over the others? That's it. It's not a marketing trick. And it's not about being clever, it's about clarity. When someone lands on your Amazon listing, they make a decision quickly. They're not thinking about niches or competition. They're asking themselves, often without realizing it, is this for me? Positioning is what answers that question. A poorly positioned book tries to speak to everyone. A well-positioned book speaks clearly to one type of person. And a lot of people make that mistake. They try to go into a really big niche, like this is a book for women, or this is a book for children, or this is a book for adults. And that is far too broad. That doesn't speak to anyone really. Even though you want it to be for everyone, it doesn't really speak to anyone. For example, a book titled Gratitude Journal doesn't tell the buyer very much, but a gratitude journal for busy women who only have 5 minutes a day immediately tells someone whether it's right for them or not. The niche didn't change, the positioning did. Positioning shows up everywhere. It shows up in the title, in the subtitle, in the cover design, in the description, and even inside the book itself. When all of those things are aligned, the book feels intentional. And when they're not, the book feels vague, even if the idea itself is very good. And this is important to say. Positioning does not mean you need a completely original idea. It means you need a clear point of view and a clear audience. And that's why books in very crowded niches can still do well. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. This is also why branding and positioning are so closely linked. Branding helps you make these decisions deliberately instead of guessing. And once you understand positioning, you stop asking, does this niche sell? And what you start asking is, does this book make sense for the person I want to help? Positioning isn't about chasing what's popular. It's about being clear enough that the right reader recognizes themselves immediately. So when people ask me what sells and what doesn't sell, this is why it's such a difficult question to answer with a list. Gratitude journals as a niche still sell, but only when the book has a reason to exist beyond it's a gratitude journal. Let me give you another example, because this happens all the time. Let me give you an example that a lot of people will recognize. Adult coloring books. This is another niche where people often say it's oversaturated. And again, if you search on Amazon, you'll see hundreds of books that look almost identical. Same themes, similar covers, similar interiors, and when someone publishes a generic coloring book in that space and it doesn't sell, the conclusion is often, coloring books are too competitive now. They're saturated. But once again, that's not really the truth. The coloring books that still do very well are not trying to appeal to everyone. They're clearly positioned. They might be for relaxation and anxiety, or designed specifically for beginners. Or they're created around a very clear theme, style, or mood. The difference isn't that coloring books suddenly became popular again. The difference is that the buyer immediately understands who the book is for and why it exists. So again, it's not the niche that decides whether a book sells. It's how well that book is thought through, presented, and aligned with the audience. Two coloring books can sit side by side in the same category, and one sells consistently while the other one doesn't. And that isn't luck, that's positioning. And this is why I always say that asking what sells isn't enough. I can give you a list of books that are selling, and you can look them up on Amazon anyway, so copying them or making another book in that niche isn't necessarily going to work. I wish it did, because then it would be really easy. All we would have to do is look up books that are really selling and just create something similar. But it's not as easy as that, and you can make it work. But the real question is how to take an idea and shape it into something that makes sense to the person buying it. Instead of asking, does this niche sell? A much better question is, would this book sell to this particular person? What matters more than the niche is who the book is for, what problem it solves or experience it gives, and how clearly it's designed and presented, and how well it speaks to the intended audience. Two people can publish in the exact same niche and get completely different results. That's not luck, that's execution. Now, to be clear, yes, some niches do tend to perform more consistently over time, but they're not guarantees. Being in a popular niche doesn't automatically mean sales, and being in a smaller niche doesn't mean failure. I've seen both work and both fail, depending on how the book was created and positioned. And this is where branding becomes incredibly important, especially for self-publishers. Branding isn't just logos or colors, it's clarity. It's understanding who you're creating for, what your books stand for, and why someone should choose your book over another one. And when people struggle with sales, it's very rarely because they chose the wrong niche. it's usually because the book doesn't clearly communicate its value to the right audience. This is exactly what I teach inside my Branding for Self-Publishers course, not how to chase trends, not how to copy what everyone else is doing, but how to build books and brands that make sense, feel intentional, and stand a real chance in the marketplace. Because once you understand branding and positioning, you don't need lists anymore. You can look at an idea and know how to shape it into something that fits your audience. If you're feeling unsure right now, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Most successful publishers didn't succeed because they picked the perfect niche. They succeeded because they published, learned, improved, and refined their approach over time. And clarity comes from action, not from waiting for the perfect list. So if you have just started publishing, then please don't worry. You will learn all this the more books you create. It took me a while to make a significant income with my books because I created my first books to learn the process. I was just concentrating on getting the formatting right, on creating my covers and all those things. Yes, I was looking at niches because that was what people were talking about. Someone on YouTube would say this niche is selling hundreds, and it's true, they do sell hundreds, but that's just half the story. You have to think about what kind of book you are creating in that niche. It's not just about the niche. So when I was creating my first books, I wasn't thinking about my readers or buyers at all because I was focused on learning how to publish. And once you are confident and you know how to publish, that's when you need to think about your audience and work on that. And that's what this video is hopefully helping you to do. So I can't give you a simple list of what sells and what doesn't because that wouldn't really help you. I can occasionally tell you what niches are doing well and how you can create books like that, but it will always include advice on how to position your book and how to brand your books, how to stand out from all the others. And that is what really helps. It doesn't really matter. There's lots and lots of niches that you can try and publish in. It just depends what kind of book you create in that niche. It's as simple as that and as difficult as that. And I can help you understand how to make better decisions, create stronger books, and build something that grows over time. So if this video helped, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I always enjoy so much talking to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.